Behind the glam and glory of some of the top female athletes and influencers lies a harsh truth: steroids. From Marion Jones Olympic hopes crashing down to Jodie Marsh's unfiltered stories of mood swings and medical scares, these aren't just rumors, they're brutal reality checks. What once seemed like a shortcut to success ended in shattered trust, health issues, and careers that never truly bounced back. These are the 15 female influencers who regret taking steroids. Number 15. Kelly White. Kelly White was a sprinter on fire, charging toward Olympic gold with serious speed and determination, but her dreams got clipped hard when she was caught doping. She received a 2-year suspension, wiping out her chance to compete in the 2004 Athens Games. And it wasn't just that. Every medal she'd won over a 4-year period, including 3 world championship golds, was stripped. Her enhancement routine, a cocktail of stimulants, undetectable steroids, and EPO, a hormone boosting endurance to superhuman levels. Kelly's name got swept into the Balco Lab scandal, the infamous steroid ring that flipped the sports world on its head. She didn't deny it. She came forward, calling it a poor decision. Whether that was honesty or PR cleanup is still up for debate. Kelly claimed she wanted to help clean up the sport, but the damage was already done. Her sprint to fame turned into a crash landing, all because of shortcuts. And what's left behind is a legacy stuck in the shadow of what if. Number 14. Marion Jones. Once crowned the queen of track and field, Marion Jones became the face of steroid regret. She sprinted to Olympic stardom, bagging 5 medals at the 2000 Sydney Games. But let's be real, when steroids enter the picture, that golden glow fades pretty fast. Marion later admitted she'd used performance-enhancing drugs, and it wasn't just a minor scandal. She got pulled into a federal investigation, pled guilty, and ended up serving time in prison. Her confession was blunt. She took full accountability and didn't blame anyone else. It was a full-blown downfall. Since then, she's been open about how deeply she regrets it all. She called it the worst mistake of her life, one that shattered her career, personal life, and public trust. These days, she focuses on family and coaching, but that steroid stain never fully faded. The medals vanished, but the consequences stayed. The fame, the pressure, the temptation, it cost her everything. And while she's moved forward, the world hasn't really let her forget. Now she lives in Austin. Number 13. Jodie Marsh. Jodie Marsh, the British glam queen turned muscle machine, didn't just dip her toes into bodybuilding, she dove head first. Her transformation from reality TV to a shredded competitor was loud and bold. But under those killer abs and sculpted arms lived a steroid story that eventually slapped hard. Jodie was honest. She admitted she used them chasing perfection. That juice came with a heavy price tag, emotional chaos, health scares, and the constant pressure to look flawless. The side effects weren't pretty. Wild mood swings and unpredictable health issues followed close behind. She later said she deeply regretted it all. The trophies were temporary and the toll permanent. Jodie's reflection isn't some half-baked apology, it's full-on regret. She now talks about the mental pressure the fitness world throws at women and how easy it is to fall into the trap. Her story hits real. Steroids might make you shine for a minute, but the crash that follows is super brutal. And for Jodie, that glow-up came with far more pain than pride. Number 12. Tammy Thomas. Tammy Thomas dominated cycling in the late 90s and early 2000s, winning races and building a reputation for raw, unstoppable strength. But that edge wasn't entirely 100% natural. Steroids and banned substances helped fuel her rise and ended up wrecking her name. Tammy got caught doping, and not just once. Her scandal sent shockwaves through the cycling world and earned her a 2-year suspension. Afterward, her public image crumbled. Sponsors pulled out. Fans turned away. The backlash was brutal. Years later, she spoke up saying she wished she could go back and make different choices. The pressure to stay competitive had pushed her into a corner, and the consequences haunted every win. Her reputation took a nosedive, and she's still trying to recover. It's a painful reminder that steroids might deliver short bursts of glory, but the fallout is far more lasting. Tammy's story asks the hard question: when you're chasing greatness, how far are you willing to go, and is the trade-off ever really worth it? Number 1. Yulia Stepanova. Yulia Stepanova wasn't just another middle-distance runner from Russia. She became the face of one of the biggest doping exposés in human sports history. She didn't just admit to using steroids, she exposed the entire Russian state-sponsored doping program. Yulia and her husband blew the lid off a system that had been pumping athletes with banned substances while covering it all up. She took a massive risk going public with secret recordings, data, and testimony that triggered a global investigation. But her story didn't start as a whistleblower. She too was a part of it, doping, racing, winning, until the guilt became too much. After stepping forward, she was banned from competition, stripped of her honors, and labeled a traitor by her home country. The cost? Isolation, threats, and exile. But Yulia said it clearly: she'd rather tell the truth than live with the lie. Her story isn't just about regret, it's about resistance. She paid dearly for exposing the truth, but she also changed the game forever. Number 10. Rachel McLish. Rachel McLish was the original queen of female bodybuilding, elegant, fierce, and strong. She wasn't just flexing biceps, she was breaking boundaries in the 1980s, winning the very first Miss Olympia title in 1980 and again in 1982. But even that iconic legacy isn't free from controversy. Behind the spotlight and muscles was an industry quietly laced with steroids. Rachel admitted the environment back then heavily pushed performance enhancers, even if no one talked about it. Steroids were there, woven into the culture. Rachel reflected later on how all that pressure to maintain the perfect body came at a real cost. She said the drugs affected her health and distorted her sense of normal. What was meant to empower her ended up pushing her limits to unsafe extremes. She wasn't just dealing with muscle growth, she was fighting to keep her identity intact in an industry demanding perfection. Her story isn't one of scandal, it's one of silent regret. A reminder that even great icons carry scars behind the big bright shine. Number 9. Kay Baxter. Kay Baxter was an absolute force, smashing stereotypes and redefining female muscle way before it was cool. In the 70s and early 80s, she brought size, strength, and swagger to the stage like no one else. At 5'6" and 180 pounds, Kay was a powerhouse, one of the first to really showcase hardcore female bodybuilding. But let's be real, those gains weren't gym work alone. Steroids were part of the process, and they came with a darker side. Kay faced the usual insane physical demands, the pressure to stay big, and health issues quietly creeping in. It wasn't just the muscles growing, it was the cost stacking up. Her story ended tragically. Kay died at only 48. Steroids weren't the only reason, but they definitely added weight to the damage. She opened doors, but the price she paid was high. If we talk about Kay's legacy, well, it's pretty complicated. She pushed boundaries and changed the game, but behind the flex was a warning no one can ignore: some glows burn out way too fast. What do you think about her? Number 8. Corey Everson. Corey Everson rewrote what it meant to be strong and feminine. With 6 Miss Olympia titles in the 80s, she was a powerhouse. Muscle, grace, and dominance rolled into one. But her journey through the fitness world wasn't without shadows. Steroids quietly crept into the conversation, and Corey didn't pretend otherwise. She's been open about how competitive bodybuilding during her time practically demanded performance enhancers. She spoke about the pressure to meet impossible standards, about how pushing past her limits turned her body into something that felt unnatural. While others stayed silent, Corey acknowledged that the drug culture was hard to avoid. And even though she owned her choices, she also shared the regrets about the toll on her health, the pressure on her image, and the unspoken sacrifices just to stay on top. Corey's story doesn't scream scandal, but it does echo a warning. She showed the world what a woman could be, but also what chasing that title could quietly destroy. Alright guys, now let's move to number 7, Petra Schneider. In the 70s and 80s, Petra Schneider was a swimming machine, collecting golds for East Germany like she was unstoppable. But the truth behind those wins wasn't just talent, it was steroids, pushed by the infamous East German doping machine. Petra didn't just swim through water, she swam through a system rigged for gold at any cost. She shattered world records, especially in the 400-meter individual medley, and became a national hero. But years later, everything came out. The state-sponsored doping program had been pumping athletes with enhancers, often without full consent. Petra eventually admitted that those steroids gave her an unfair advantage. She's talked about how it affected her body, her mind, and how the medals came at a deep personal price. It wasn't just about winning, it was about being controlled. The side effects? Real. The regret? Lasting. She became a voice in calling out the toxic system that sacrificed health for pride. Her gold medals still shine, but for Petra, they'll never feel clean. Number 6. Dawn Marie Saltis. Dawn Marie Saltis, better known as Dawn Marie, wasn't just any WWE diva, she was a fierce fan favorite, lighting up the ring with bold moves and fiery energy. But behind the high-impact entrances and larger-than-life persona, there was a choice she later called one of her biggest regrets: steroids. At first she denied it, but eventually she came clean, admitting that she had used them during her wrestling career, hoping to keep up with the unrelenting image standards of the industry. That decision didn't age well. In interviews, she talked about how badly steroids affected her health, mindset, and overall well-being. The short-term gains never made up for the long-term damage. She described it as a decision she'd undo in a heartbeat if given the chance. In wrestling, where image is everything, she felt trapped in a cycle of performance and pressure. Her journey's not just about juicing, it's about what it costs women to survive in hyper-competitive industries. The truth? Steroids helped her stay strong, but left her feeling broken. Number 5. Heike Drexler. Heike was once Germany's golden girl of track and field, a long jump and sprinting icon whose performances lit up the 1980s and 90s. But under those medals and records sat a controversy she never really outran. Competing for East Germany during the height of its state-run doping era, Heike's name has been forever tied to whispers of steroid use. She's never openly confessed, but extensive reports and testimonies place her squarely in the middle of a system built on enhancement, the same system that turned athletes into medal machines. And while Heike kept her medals and image intact, the shadow never quite left. Her 27-foot jumps and blistering sprints still spark admiration but also doubt. Was it all natural, or just another product of East Germany's well-oiled doping machine? She remains a legend, but her legacy, complicated. Because even without a confession, the evidence hangs heavy. Heike's rise wasn't just athletic, it was chemical. And in the end, the distance she jumped may never match the one she spent running from suspicion. Number 4. Marina Shainova. Marina Shainova stood proud on the Olympic podium in 2008, clutching silver for Russia in weightlifting's 128 pounds category. But nearly a decade later, that silver was stripped, and her name became tied to scandal. Why? Her 2008 sample tested positive during reanalysis in 2016 for stanozolol and turinabol, two notorious performance enhancers. The International Olympic Committee didn't hesitate. They took her medal and added her to the growing list of athletes disgraced by doping. This wasn't her first time either. Marina had already faced a doping ban in 2013, 2 strikes, and the second one was louder than the first. Her story became a walking reminder that no one escapes the long shadow of steroids. Marina's brief victory turned into long-term fallout. No glory, no redemption, just a legacy stained by 2 choices too many. For athletes like her, medals are temporary, but consequences are permanent. The weight she once lifted so proudly now feels like a burden she'll carry forever. A career that could have soared, lost to shortcuts. Number 3, Katharina Witt. Katharina Witt, the East German figure skating star who dazzled the world with elegance and precision, is still one of the sport's most iconic names. 2-time Olympic gold medalist, world champion, national hero, her resume is unmatched. But her rise to glory came during a time when East Germany's state-sponsored steroid program was in full swing. While Katarina has never personally admitted to doping, the system she thrived under has been exposed for its widespread, often non-consensual drug use. Athletes were treated like experiments, and skating wasn't immune. The irony: Katarina's image was pure grace, flawless technique, and classic beauty, everything the public wanted figure skating to be. But behind that image was a cloud she's never fully escaped. In recent years, she's spoken out against doping, especially after the Kamila Valieva scandal in 2022, voicing disappointment in what the sport has become. But still, her name sits in an awkward middle ground between admiration and suspicion. Her legacy twirls somewhere between brilliance and asterisks. Number 2. Nicole Bass. Nicole was a powerhouse, standing at 6 feet and 2 inches and weighing over 260 pounds. She became one of wrestling's most unforgettable figures. From dominating the bodybuilding scene to slamming her way into WWE, she shattered every expectation for female strength. But with that kind of size and visibility came relentless pressure, and steroids weren't just part of the background, they were part of the package. Nicole's huge physique sparked constant speculation, and eventually the truth came out. Reports revealed that steroids had helped her maintain her signature build, but they also took a toll behind the scenes. Health issues followed. By 2017, tragedy struck. Nicole suffered a massive stroke and died at just 52. Many pointed to the long-term effects of steroid use and the brutal demands of pro wrestling as factors. She didn't just fight in the ring, she fought against an industry obsessed with size and strength at any cost. Her life, legacy, and the lawsuit against WWE tell the story of a woman who went all in and paid with everything. Number 1. Jenny Fransson. Jenny Fransson, a Swedish wrestling champ, was gearing up for Olympic glory until steroids flipped everything upside down. She trained like a beast, had her eyes locked on the podium, and then boom, a failed drug test just before the World Wrestling Championships knocked her off the Swedish Olympic team. Her name was suddenly everywhere, not for wins, but for doping disgrace. The fallout was brutal. Her dreams were shattered overnight, and her reputation took a major hit. Jenny didn't try to twist the narrative, she faced it, owned up to the mistake. She's spoken about how deep her regret runs, and how the weight of that one decision wrecked years of hard work. Getting kicked from the Olympics isn't just a bruise, it's a total knockout. The shame doesn't fade easily, and neither does the judgment. Her story isn't about excuses, it's about a reminder. That one wrong turn under pressure can leave your whole career pinned to the mat. No rematch, just a legacy shadowed by one irreversible choice. If you've enjoyed this video, be sure to like, share, and subscribe. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you very soon.